boil an egg is one of the very easiest things anyone can do. But I, Ethlyn Kaba, can't seem to get it right. There have been moments when I thought I was boiling an egg for my kids for breakfast. I come out 10 minutes later, and I actually forgot to put the egg in the water. There have been moments when I come out, and the stove, I never turned it on. There's been evaporated water and burnt shells. One time, a dear girlfriend actually went to the art fair and saw some clay thing and thought that would help me out. Apparently, all you have to do is actually put the egg in it and put it in the microwave, and then you would have perfectly boiled egg. The egg exploded, the clay thingy shattered, that's that. I have had very runny eggs, I have had leaky yolk, you name it. But there was this day about a year ago, and I made the perfect hard-boiled egg. Nothing was wrong with it, thank you. My then 12-year-old, now 13, was getting ready, and I really just could not wait to show her the egg I made for breakfast. And it wasn't until she had boarded the bus did I realize I served her a plate of breakfast and forgot to put the perfectly peeled egg on it. And so she never actually saw the egg, and she left for school. So when she got back home, walked into our mudroom, which is a shared space for also my work from home office. And so she walked in, exchanged a few pleasantries, and as she normally does, said, she needed a snack. Perfect time. Honey, I have egg for you. It's, in the pot. I forgot to give it to you for breakfast. And my daughter looked at me with eyes I can really best describe as pity. Mom, when has boiling an egg gone right for you? And what that feeling you just had, that's exactly what I had. And she walked off, set her bag down, walked off. No other words has changed. And I just plopped into my chair. Suddenly, agony about how I could just screw up such a basic thing. Suddenly, my past failures in life, like a balloon, released, and I was catching every single mistake. All of the shame that I'd had previously that have seen me sit in my therapist's chair, I was remembering all of them. I remembered the times I sat with an executive coach, frustrated, trying to understand if my ideas were okay. I remembered the times I refused to be in community with friends over one simple question: am I good enough? And there, in my mudroom/office, that question came back. I'm not even good enough to make a simple boiled egg. Before I could sink further into despair, I had another thought. It was really an epiphany, which is the moments that I had actually been questioning all these years, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am, really boiled down to one thing, no pun intended, boiled down to one thing, which was I was chasing perfection. I was chasing the idea of I wanted flawless execution. I wanted no mistakes in anything that had actually done. And this is something that has gone with me my entire life. I remember growing up in Ghana and so on, and I thought there was something completely wrong with my life because my family structure wasn't mother, father, my brother Benji, maybe a dog. I'm actually terrified of a dog, but let's throw the dog in there for the perfection piece, right? Instead, my family structure growing up, it was my grandmother, my grandaunt, a couple of uncles, some second and third cousins, lots of chickens, slept on the floor on a mat, and somehow because of that, my home was not good enough to invite friends over. Years later, when my friends were graduating high school, plotting universities, I was plotting the arrival of my firstborn child. A moment that is very joyful for a lot of people, yes, for me too, but then also the notion of I had once again screwed up, have this imperfect life, thus I'm not good enough. And on and on and on. I remember the swimsuit I didn't wear because I don't have the perfect body. I remember not having, because it took me 10 plus years to get a bachelor's degree, that I didn't have the perfect education background. I'm not good enough. I don't have the perfect resume, even for the job that I held. I almost didn't go for it because my resume wasn't perfect. Therefore, I am not good enough. But really, what I was saying was I had not followed the perfect path set by society, set by structure, set by cultures, and yes, set for myself. And in doing so, what I was actually doing was dishonoring the very things that had actually made me quite successful, had made me quite a delightful person. I enjoy my family, and I was dishonoring and lacking gratitude because I spent forever thinking about the notion of not good enough. So then another thought popped into my head, which was, is it possible that I actually good enough meant settling? And you have to know me to know I don't believe in settling, okay? But is settling really actually a terrible thing? Now, that's a whole nother, boiled egg question I need to answer. But if you think about the historical context of what it meant to settle, folks would travel long and wide with looking for a place that had the basic necessities of food, water, some sort of safety, and they would build community, they would build a settlement, and they would settle. So in that context, was the idea of settlement actually terrible? I'm not ready to answer that. What I will say is good enough and settlement for me were two different things. Good enough meant at the state that I am in, I had all of the necessary requirements to be joyful, to be happy, to find some level of confidence in how I can show up, to improve if I want to, that all of these necessary requirements were actually there. And so I pondered the question, what if we actually embraced the notion that we are all good enough, and that what we've been chasing is perfection? And that perfection actually may not exist because we all have our different stories and our own backgrounds. What if? The notion of embracing actually imperfection, again, I talked about, for me, everything in my life, I actually owe to my background. The role that I have at the Anne Bancroft Foundation, we focus on girls K through 12. We get hundreds of applications every year. I've read several of them. I've interviewed some of them. And I am not, sadly, the only one who feels that way. We see girls who talk about lacking confidence because they don't quite measure up to a certain level of social media, a certain level of parental expectations. They don't quite measure up. Are their voices too small? Is it too loud? I don't know if I should raise my hand in STEM class when I am the only girl. I don't. And all of the ways of how they don't feel enough is stifling creativity, is stifling taking a risk. These are the moments that actually build resilience. These are the moments that actually build innovation. One of my favorite stories about innovation is really in the business sense, which is 3M, where in an imperfect attempt to create adhesive, created one of the best and most widely used products, which is the Post-it notes. What if we accepted our imperfection as how we're going to come up with the most innovative solutions? I also very much love the concept of minimum viable products in startups, which is how can we quickly create something, adapt continuously. It doesn't negate the past, it just gives lessons for what we need to do for the future. And so really, my question is very simple. What if businesses adopted more of that? Let's all come in the room with our good enough ideas, with our not formed ideas. You don't have to have the perfectly formed words. What if classrooms and education, we accepted that rather than grading at the high score for success, we can actually create an environment where students can come in with curiosity, where they can come in asking the questions, for higher learning, for more successful execution of ideas. And then what if as individuals, and I firmly believe that, I really hope my boiling egg mishaps would have made me create an invention like the Post-it note. It hasn't yet, but I do think it is not perfection that is going to give us the ideas we need the most to advance the common good. It is progress. It is the lessons from the past. And that will be my challenge to all of you, is that how to embrace more imperfection, be curious, and absolutely accept that you are good enough. Thank you.